Youthberk fighters, welcome back to the very first video of 2023. It's been a hot minute, but we start this year off pretty good with not only pretty interesting new support for Youthberk, but more importantly, a brand new heal trigger that might give us a glimpse in what direction Overdress is going to go moving forward. So, without any further ado, let's jump straight into these reveals. Stand up! Vanguard! So instead of starting with the heal trigger, let's first jump into the Youthberk support, as it's very tangible what it is and how it actually is supporting the current build, and then go over the heal trigger because I think there's a more interesting discussion to have with the heal trigger. And first off, for the Youthberk support card, we have a brand new grade 3, which is Destruction Dragon Durgaror Dragon, I want to say. And it has the effect, although when this card is discarded from your hand during your turn, if you have a Vanguard with Youthberk in its card name cost counter +1, choose one of your opponent's rear guards and put it on the bottom of their deck. Now this card sounds awfully similar to a specific other dragon card, but that aside, this card is not that great. Like, counter +1 to spin one back, it's not the greatest of value. Yes, Chronojet Dragon can use it, but it's not the main thing of the card itself, and it's just an extra free bonus on top of the card because you're not staying on the guard, you go to a different stride unit, and then the extra counter skill is just an added bonus you can utilize if you want to. This is the main gimmick of the card, and it's not that great. And it makes sense that it's just a common, as it's probably not really going to be used at all. And the condition is not that hard to be filled because discard for the right deck or for Youthberk is pretty easy, but that's everything the card has going for it. Now, moving onward, we got a brand new double grade 1, which is actually kind of interesting, as we have Knight of Vanquish Bow Stilft. Jesus Christ, these names are not helping me. And its ability is auto on back row center rearguard circle, which is the circle behind your Vanguard. When your Vanguard is placed on the Vanguard circle by the Revolve Dress ability, stand this unit, and this unit gets power plus 10k until the end of turn. Now keep in mind, this is a 5k grade 1. So it can boost your Youthberk for 5k, then it restands, and then boost the Revolve Dress Youthberk for 15k, which is pretty good numbers, as not only would make your normal Youthberk a bit stronger, but on top of that, it makes your secondary attack a lot stronger, because the best thing we have going right now is the grade 2, or the grade 1, at least the 10k grade 2 that can be superior called and that can boost, and it gives an extra 10k power. But this is 15k, which honestly is much more power because it also empowers the first Vanguard swing, which usually isn't empowered as much. But the only downside this card has is the fact that it's battling for the spot on the field with Sequana. Now, does it mean that this card won't be played because of that? I don't think necessarily that's the case, because Sequana can be used anywhere on the field. Yes, it will make your rearguard boosters weaker if you don't boost them, but depending on your field setup or how you're gonna build your deck, that might not matter all too much because you're putting more value on your Vanguard swings, and certain rearguards might not even need boosters to be good enough on their own. And the reason why I say that is because of the other card that got revealed, which is a brand new grade 2 triple R, which is Knight of Plowing Dual Break. And Dual Break has the effect, auto front row rearguard circle. When your Vanguard is placed in the Vanguard circle by the Revolve Dress ability, choose one of your Vanguards and it gets power plus 5k until the end of turn. So more ways to empower our Youthberk's Vanguard swings. We've seen this with other grade 2s like Sneasel that can empower our Vanguard with extra 5k, but this is basically just on place it gets there. There's no like battle phase shenanigans or like attack patterns that needs to go correctly to get the power. So it's a much easier way to empower your rewrite Vanguard, which is pretty good. But it also has the effect on a rearguard circle. When this unit attacks a grade 3 or greater unit, costs soul +1 card with the Revel form in its card name, and this unit gets power plus 10k until the end of battle. So it can become a 20k beater on its own, which honestly is pretty decent. And this is the reason why I say that maybe putting Sequana on a rearguard circle on like the side columns might not be as bad, is because this card exists, thus making you lose the booster might not be all too bad, as you can compensate for the extra power this card can generate. Overall, a pretty good beater that can definitely make your late game turns even more threatening, but might leave some things desired in the early game, where other cards might potentially be shining a bit more right now. Now that said, as I already said at the beginning of the video, we have a brand new heal trigger, and that new heal trigger being this one. This is the heal trigger with the ability, although when this unit is put on the Guardian Circle, if your Vanguard's grade is less than your opponent's Vanguard grade, this unit gets shield plus 10k until the end of battle. So this is somewhat similar to the other two effect heals we have in Overdress, which are the one that gets 15k shield if you are up against a unit with an extra critical, or I believe original crit 2 or something, or once the unit attack twice, so against restanding decks. And just like those triggers, this heal trigger also has a decreased base shield of 10k, whereas the vanilla heal triggers are 15k shield. Now, in terms of just raw value, I'm kind of a little bit disappointed by the fact that this card is just 20k shield and not 25k like the other ones, because I much rather wanted to see this card having the same amount of value. Now, I can understand where they're coming from. This condition is much easier to fulfill than the double crit or restand effect heals, because this card will activate once you go second for the first couple of turns. So that's already good. It's a really good going second effect. But it also is good against any grade 4 strategies, because if you aren't a grade 4 strategy, you will always be able to activate this on turn 3 or turn 4, depending on who goes first. Which is honestly pretty good. I think this opens up an interesting debate, because this card has way more in-depth to it than just on the surface. Because on the surface, as already explained, it's a going second card or anti-grade 4 strategy card. But there are some other applications to this card which might make it pretty interesting. It opens up the potential of grade 2 gaming in Overdress, because this card doesn't care for which grade you are or if you stay there, it just looks at if you are lower than your opponent. So if grade 2 gaming ever becomes a thing in Overdress, this heal becomes even better during those earlier turns, because at some point one of the two players is forced to ride up, and then this card comes into play for that particular turn where the other person goes to grade 3 as first. Now, will that ever become a thing in Overdress? It's hard to say, because the ride deck exists, and currently we don't have a lot of effects that really abuse your opponent being grade 3 or higher or anything. But we have to wait and see how things are going to pan out. I do like the fact that we see more of these going second strategy cards, or cards that complement not going first to some extent. And I hope we're going to see more of these type of cards, as it does make things feel a bit more fair. Because I think a lot of players are feeling like going first is a bit too powerful. And with cards being even more aggressive with the future support on the horizon, things like this are a warm welcome. And who knows, maybe you're gonna take it even further beyond what we see right now. But that's basically everything I want to talk about today. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, what you guys think of these new Youthberk cards, as well as this new type of heal trigger. Do you think it's a heal trigger that's going to have an impact either now or somewhere down the line? Or do you think it's going to be a lackluster new type of heal trigger that won't impact the format as much because of the lower shield value that we've seen on the other effect heals? Let me know your thought in the comment section down below. As always, this video has been brought to you by our lovely patrons over at patreon.com/insider. You guys are amazing. If you want to support channel or everything that's happening on the channel, you can simply go to patreon.com/insider and become a patron today. But with that said, I've been Mr. Time Leap, and I see you guys in the next one!